Stingy Jack. Make yourself comfortable, grab a cup of tea, maybe some Halloween candy, hit that subscribe button, and let's begin our story. Hello, come in from the cold, settle in by the fire. There's a storm outside tonight, a perfect night for a story. Find a comfortable place and let the sound of the rain and the crackling fire wash over you, a warm blanket of sound. Breathe in and out. Let the world fade away. Tonight, we journey back in time to a place of rolling green hills, perpetual mist, and ancient legends whispered in the dark corners of taverns. Have you ever wondered, on a dark Halloween night, as you see the flickering, smiling faces of pumpkins on every doorstep, why we do this? Why we carve faces into gourds and place a fire inside? The tradition is older than you think, and it has nothing to do with pumpkins. It has to do with a man, a promise, and a single burning coal from the very depths of hell. It is the story of a wanderer who can never find rest. It is the legend of Stingy Jack. Chapter 2. The Man Named Jack. In a small village in old Ireland, where the cottages huddled together against the wind and the roads were more mud than stone, there lived a man named Jack. He was known throughout the land, not for his wealth or his strength, but for his cunning mind and his slow conscience. He was a trickster, a silver-tongued charmer who could talk his way out of any trouble. And because he never liked to part with a single coin, they called him Stingy Jack. Our story finds Jack on a cold, blustery autumn night, much like this one. He was where he could often be found, in the corner of the local tavern, a clay tankard of dark ale in his hand. The tavern was a warm, noisy refuge from the wet darkness outside. The air was thick with the smell of damp wool, sweet peat smoke from the hearth, and spilled ale. The low thatched roof trapped the heat and the low murmur of conversations. Candles flickered on the heavy wooden tables, casting long dancing shadows on the walls. Jack was laughing, telling a tall tale to a group of farmers, when suddenly a change swept through the room. A cold draft seemed to snake across the floor, making the candles sputter and the fire in the hearth hiss and shrink for a moment. The cheerful din of the tavern faded into an uneasy silence. A figure stood in the doorway. He was tall and cloaked in shadow, and his face was calm and unremarkable. But everyone in the room felt an unnatural chill, a primal fear that made the hairs on their arms stand up. The figure's eyes found Jack. He walked slowly across the room, his footsteps making no sound on the creaking wooden floorboards. He sat down opposite Jack, and his voice was not a roar of thunder, but a calm, quiet, and reasonable whisper. "Jack," the stranger said, "your time has come. I am here to collect your soul." It was, of course, the devil himself. But Jack, even now, did not show fear. He simply smiled his cunning smile. Of course," he said smoothly, "but it's a long walk to your domain, is it not? A man should not travel on an empty stomach or with a dry throat. Grant me one last drink for the road." The devil considered this. It seemed a small, reasonable request. "Very well," he said. "One last drink." Jack drained his tankard and then sighed dramatically. "Alas," he said, turning out his empty pockets, "I haven't a single coin to pay for it. But you are a powerful being. You can change your shape into anything, can you not? Turn yourself into a silver coin. I will pay the landlord, and when he is not looking, you can change back, and we can be on our way." The devil, amused by this mortal's audacity, agreed. It was, after all, an interesting trick. Chapter 3: The Trick of the Coin. And so the devil left with Jack, but not before Jack could trick him one last time for a drink. The devil, eager to claim Jack's soul, agreed to transform himself into a coin to pay for the drinks. But as soon as the devil became a silver coin, Jack snatched it up and put it in his purse, which had a silver cross on it as a clasp. The cross trapped the devil in the form of a coin. Jack eventually freed the devil, but only after making him promise not to claim his soul for another 10 years. The devil, furious but bound by his word, agreed. Chapter 4: The Trick at the Apple Tree. 10 years passed, and Jack lived his life as he always had, full of clever tricks and selfish deeds. And just as promised, on a dark autumn night, the devil appeared before him again as he was walking home down a country lane. "The decade is over, Jack," the devil said, his voice calm but firm. "This time there will be no tricks. Your soul is mine." "You are right, of course," Jack said with a weary sigh. "I am ready. But before we go, my final request. I am famished. Could you not climb that apple tree and fetch me one last apple to eat on our long journey?" The devil looked at the gnarled apple tree by the side of the road. It seemed a simple enough request. Annoyed but eager to be done with it, he effortlessly scaled the tree. As he reached for the most perfect, ripe apple at the very top, he heard a sound below. It was the sound of a knife carving into bark. Jack was moving quickly around the trunk of the tree, carving a large cross into the wood. The devil looked down and realized he was trapped once more. The holy symbol prevented him from climbing down. "Let me down, you trickster!" the devil roared, his voice for the first time filled with rage. "I will," Jack called up, "but only if you make me another promise. You must swear that you will never take my soul, no matter what I do." The devil, trapped and humiliated, had no choice. He gave Jack his solemn oath, and with a laugh, Jack helped him down, and the devil vanished into the night, vowing to never be tricked by the mortal again. Chapter 5: The Closing of the Gates. Years later, Jack's long and selfish life finally came to an end. He died, and his spirit found itself floating in a gray, silent mist, expecting to be dragged down to the fiery pits. But nothing happened. So his ghost drifted up to the great gleaming gates of heaven. He knocked, and St. Peter appeared. The saint looked down at his book, his face calm and impassive. "Jack," he said, his voice like the chime of a great bell, "your life was one of selfishness and trickery. You are not welcome here. There is no place for you in heaven." And the gates of heaven closed to him with a soft, final sound, like the closing of a great book. So Jack drifted down, down, down to the gates of hell. He knocked, and the devil himself appeared, a wry, tired smile on his face. "Jack," the devil said, shaking his head, "did you forget our bargain? I gave you my word. I can never take your soul, no matter what." "But where am I to go?" cried Jack's spirit. "Heaven will not have me, and you have cast me out." "That is your problem, not mine," said the devil. "You made your bed. Now you must wander in it." And the gates of hell slammed shut, leaving Jack alone in the eternal, cold darkness between the worlds. Chapter 6. The Wanderer's Light. "But the dark, I cannot see," Jack pleaded through the gates. "The wind is so cold." A moment of silence passed. Then the gates of hell creaked open just a crack. The devil, perhaps taking a small bit of pity on the man who had twice outsmarted him, reached out and tossed him a single small gift. It was an ember, a single, eternally burning coal from the fires of hell itself. It would never go out, and it would provide a small measure of light, but no warmth. "Take this," the devil's voice echoed, "and light your way. Now be gone." Jack was left alone in the endless, windy dark, with only this single glowing ember. It was too hot to hold. As he wandered, he came across a large turnip lying in a field. He was hungry, but as a spirit, he could not eat. But he had an idea. He took out his small, sharp knife, the same one he had used to carve the cross on the apple tree, and he began to hollow out the turnip. We can hear the sound of the knife slowly and methodically scraping and scooping out the tough, damp flesh from the inside. A wet, rhythmic scraping sound in the vast, silent darkness. When it was hollow, he carved a crude, leering face into its side, 2 eyes, a nose, and a grinning mouth. Then he carefully placed the eternal ember inside the hollowed-out turnip. The coal's eerie orange light flickered out through the crudely carved eyes and mouth, casting a weak, ghostly glow on the path before him. And with this lantern in hand, Jack, now known as Jack of the Lantern, began his endless walk. Doomed to wander the earth for all eternity, a lonely spirit with a flickering light, forever barred from both heaven and hell. Chapter 7. The Epilogue. A Light in Your Window. And that is the legend. When the Irish came to America, they found that pumpkins were much larger and easier to carve than turnips. And so the tradition changed, but the meaning remains the same. That flickering face you see on a dark Halloween night is a symbol, a little lantern to light the way for wandering souls, and perhaps to scare away the ones with ill intent. So tonight, as you lie here, warm and safe, listening to the rain, if you happen to glance at your window and see a single, faint, flickering light out there in the darkness, do not be afraid. It is only poor, stingy Jack, still walking his endless path. Just close your eyes and drift off to sleep,